Hi everyone, and welcome to our video on function graphs. In this video we're going to be looking at some exam questions. Our first exam question states the graph of y equals f of x is shown below. The coordinates of the maximum point of this curve are 1, 4. Write down the coordinates of the maximum point of the curve with equation, and we're given 4 questions over here. Now with function graphs, the key rule you need to know is inside the bracket changes the x-axis and it does the opposite. Okay, outside the bracket changes the y-axis and does as it's told. Okay, so if we look at an example now, y equals f of x plus 3. Now it's inside the bracket, so it's going to change the x-axis and it's going to do the opposite. So it's going to change the x-axis. We have the coordinates 1, 4, so we're going to use those coordinates. So we have 1, 4. Remember, the x coordinate is 1 and the y coordinate is 4. Okay, so if it's f of x plus 3, we're going to change the x-axis because it's inside, and we're going to do the opposite. So we're not going to add 3, we're going to do the opposite and we're going to subtract 3. Okay, so we're going to subtract 3 from the x coordinate. 1 minus 3 is going to give us minus 2. The y coordinate will stay the same, so our new coordinate is minus 2, 4. Okay, and that will be there for 1 mark. Now the next one is minus f of x. Now minus f means minus 1 multiplied by f. Now it's outside the bracket, so it's going to change the y-axis and it's going to do as it's told. So it's going to change the y-axis by multiplying by negative 1. So 4 multiplied by negative 1 will become negative 4. So then the x coordinate will stay the same. It will be 1, negative 4. Okay, and that will be worth 1 mark. The next question, y equals f of x minus 3. So it's outside the bracket, so it's going to change the y-axis and it's going to do as it's told. Okay, so we have 4 as our y-axis and we're going to just subtract 3 from it. So 4 subtract 3 is going to give us 1. The x coordinate stays the same, so our coordinates are going to be 1, 1 for 1 mark. And then this final question, y equals f of minus x. So we're going to do the opposite, so it's going to be minus 1 multiplied by x. Okay, so the x value is 1, so we're going to do 1 divided by negative 1, which is still negative 1, and the y coordinate doesn't change, so our coordinates are going to be minus 1, 4. Okay, and that's going to be worth 1 mark. So the key things over here is you just need to remember this set of rules. Inside the brackets changes the x-axis and does the opposite. Outside changes the y-axis and does as it's told. We have a sort of different sort of question here. The graph of y equals f of x is shown on both grids below. We're given one of the grids here. On the grid above, sketch the graph y equals negative f of x. Okay, so remember, this one's outside the brackets, so outside the brackets going to change the y-axis and do as it's told. Okay, so the y values, we have 5, we have 0, and we have another 5. We're going to multiply all of these values by negative 1. Okay, and the x values don't change. Okay, so 5 multiplied by negative 1 is negative 5, and remember the x value doesn't change, so it's going to be 0, negative 5. So our first point is going to be over here. Okay, now this coordinate 1, 0 0 multiplied by -1 is going to be 0, and the x coordinate doesn't change, so it's going to be here. And then over here the x coordinate doesn't change, but remember 5 is multiplied by -1, so it's going to be -5. Okay, we've plotted the points. All we need to do now is going to join them up. Okay, I know it's not the best here, but once you have the paper with you, you can easily just join them up dot to dot, and that would be worth 2 marks. Another question, this time it's inside the brackets, f of x plus 2. So remember, inside, going to change the x-axis and it's going to do the opposite. Okay, so we're going to, instead of add 2, we're going to subtract 2 to the x values. So our x values are 1 and 2, and I'm only picking those coordinates because those are distinct. You can see where the coordinates are exactly. Okay, so 0 subtract 2 is going to take us to -2, so we're going to shift this point to -2, which is going to be over here. 1 subtract 2 is going to give us -1, so we're going to shift the coordinate up to here. And then 2 subtract 2 is going to shift the coordinate to here. Now again, we just join them as best as you can. Again, it will be much neater on your paper. So we've just shifted the graph to f of x plus 2, and that would be worth 2 marks. Okay, final question now. The graph of y equals f of x is shown on the grid. So we're given the graph there. On the grid above, sketch the graph of y equals f of x minus 1. So remember, it's inside the bracket, so it's going to change the x-axis and it's going to do the opposite. So instead of subtracting 1, it's going to add 1 to the x values. So we have -3 minus 3, we have 1 minus 3, and we have -1 and 2. We're going to change the x values and we're going to add 1 to them. Okay, so -3 add 1 is going to take us to -2. -1 add 1 is going to take us to 0, and then 1 add 1 is going to take us to 2. Okay, and again we just join the dots up. Sorry, that's a bit too off. Okay, so we just join the dots up, and that will be worth 1 mark. Now the next part says the graph of y equals f of x has a turning point of -1, 2. Write down the coordinates of the turning point of y equals f of minus x plus 2. So in this case, we're changing both the y-axis and the x-axis because we have 2 functions. So what we are going to do is the inside bracket is going to change the x-axis and do the opposite. So -1, we're going to divide it by -1, and that's going to give us +1. And then add 2, we're going to do as it's told. So we're going to do 2 add 2, which is 4. So we're going to be left with 1, 4 as our final answer for 1 mark. And that is it for this video. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked it. And one last thing, please subscribe, hit the like button and the notification bell.